Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me? All good. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much to everyone streaming in, from all corners of the continent, hopefully the globe, on a Monday afternoon of all days. But I think what's set to be a pretty exciting conversation around platforming creativity. So as we kick off day 4 of Fak'ugesi, really starting to hone in on what are the ways in which creatives from various disciplines are making the most of the platforms available to us nowadays, what the new developments are on various platforms, and how we can be best positioning ourselves to monetize, to get inspiration, to connect, to collaborate, and which platforms are best for what purposes. So we've got quite a full panel today. I'm really excited to meet and chat to each and every one of you. And I think maybe we can do a round table of introductions. I'll kick off since I'm talking. I'm Danica Govender, co-founder and CMO at Better. We're a digital banking app launching soon, built for the next generation of money makers and the future of work. And I'll be moderating today's discussion. So perhaps we can kick off with Natalie, if you're keen to go first. A brief introduction, who you are, who you represent, and what you're looking forward to discussing today.
Cool, thanks. So hi everyone, I'm Natalie Na, and I'm one of the co-founders of Newcomer, which is the social media platform for local and diaspora African creatives to connect, create, learn, and earn. We officially announced Newcomer last year in December. We're currently in beta. The beta launched, I want to say maybe 2 months ago now. And yeah, we are basically a community that's looking to connect African creatives all around the world. And that's me.
Hi everyone. Yeah, thanks for having me today and great to meet you all. I am Spakara Atwell-Bennett. I'm the founder and CEO of Better Shared. We are an online art marketplace for contemporary African art. And we work with artists and creatives quite similarly across the African diaspora and of course creatives as well on the continent. And we also have a creative network, and we've been growing that creative network for a significant number of years. And yeah, I'm really excited just to really find out from you guys, yeah, kind of like what's happening kind of around the world, to see how we can potentially work together, and of course what's happening and what's next for creativity really, and how we can bring kind of tech and art and creativity together, and how we can push that forward.
Hi everyone, my name is Indira. I am the co-founder and CEO of BlueAvo, which is Africa's talent creative platform. Our sole and main purpose is basically to empower creators to have access to a pipeline of commercial opportunities. So I'm so excited to be on this panel. I'm already thinking of how we can actually connect with other platforms and partner to enhance the creative economy across Africa. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ian Wabwire Joseph. I'm a cultural producer, but also a consultant. I founded an organization called KQ Hub Africa. We are not just an organization, but we are also a feature consultancy, a creative agency, and an artist collective based in East Africa, particularly in Uganda. We work with the creative community and artist community in East Africa to come up with meaningful collaborative projects within various visual, digital, and performing arts. I'm really excited to be part of this talk, and I hope I can contribute meaningfully. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Lucie Leclerc, Cultural and Audiovisual Officer at the IFAS French Institute, and I'm today with Sophie Boulez, Cultural Attaché and Deputy Director of IFAS. And today we are here to present you a new platform built between France and South Africa, Newcomer. And we are also very excited to take part of this panel, and that's it.
Yes, I'm Sophie Boulez, the new cultural attaché and deputy director for the French Institute. Thank you for inviting us to present our new platform that we have been working on since 1 year. But I wasn't here because I just arrived in September in South Africa. So I'm delighted to be with you and to share contents about platform, which is quite new for me. And thank you very much for the invitation.
Okay, wonderful. Also pretty exciting to have quite a femme strong panel. You know, Ian, you know, you're definitely, you know, it's an unconventional setup. We don't see this very often, you know, when it comes to these kinds of talks. So really, really excited to see that. But thank you so much. Really wonderful to have you all here. I think so. Just to sort of lay some groundwork for the conversation and get into an understanding of what we're going to be talking about. Could I hear from each of you? You know, when we say the word platform in today's world, what does that mean to each of you? Anyone can go. I'm not going to be a teacher about this. You can stick the same order, or, you know, I mean, innovate, guys.
Cool. I think platform for me means literally anything, either in the digital or in the physical space. And the beauty of a platform is anything can exist under that umbrella. I think more recently, we've moved into a space where so many things, especially within the creative community, can exist at once. Even as defining ourselves, one might be a photographer, graphic designer, or even a videographer the next day. And what the word platform does is it allows all of these things to happen at the same time, and we can redefine ourselves every day. So that's kind of how I define platform, especially in the tech space as well, where you can incorporate different elements from other people, just like all the wonderful organizations we have here. All of us would exist as a platform. That's how I see it.
Yeah, likewise, I think for us, well, for myself personally, I see the word platform as more of the word elevation. So for me, it's any way that you can elevate, you know, people that you're working with, creatives, organizations. So that's kind of how we approach it. We look at how can we elevate the artists that we're working with. So whether that is through our digital platform, through our marketplace, whether that is when we're working with clients, whether that is working again in the digital space and we create virtual galleries, we're looking at what are the ways that we can elevate creatives. So either reaching a wider audience or reaching a new audience, or looking at, again, how we can just, bring their work into a new space and elevate what they're already doing. So yeah, kind of elevation and really showcasing, so increasing that visibility.
For us, platform is a meeting point for opportunity. And I guess it comes from a very personal experience. I used to be a producer of a production company, and I felt like that creative opportunities were very limited to your existing network. And so for us, BlueAvo is very much the heart of creating a meeting point for opportunities for creators, for businesses, for startups to engage and have a safe space to make payments and to vet each other and to say, you know, this business practice actually works for me or doesn't. So yeah, for us, it's like it's a meeting place for business in the creative sector to take place very easily.
I think one thing that we have struggled with defining platform is because most times when we want to work with creatives, they're always saying, you're offering us a platform. What is in it for us? You know, so over the time, we've had to redefine what we think platform is. And for us, we think platform is a community, platform is a place for collaboration, but also a place for opportunity. Because we think most of the creators and the creatives that we work with, these are the things they're looking for. So once we can give them value in terms of collaborations, in terms of opportunity, in terms of networks, in terms of finances, for us, that's how we define our platform. Because over time, we've realized that it's not a platform if it's not benefiting the intended beneficiaries in some way or the other, you know. So of course we can have all these amazing platforms, but if they're not making our communities better, then for me, I don't consider them platforms. But I know and I trust that all of us have amazing platforms and we're all working to make our communities better. Thank you.
For us, even if it is a digital platform, I think it speaks of humanity, to share human abilities, human skills, to share human creativity. So for us, it's a place for human creation, you know. And if you want to add something.
And yeah, we imagine this platform also as a tool, and we ask to different partners also which functions they want to see in this platform. So it's something also we wanted to modulate and evaluable. So that's what platform offers for us.
Yeah, I love that, just drawing on humanity there. But I believe that you actually would have a platform that you'd like to share with us. Is this like the world premiere of your new platform? I'd love, could we see it? Okay, I think we're going to just have a video share quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So we will share the screen. Can you see it?
Got you.
So that's a short video presentation of what e-control is.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, well done and congratulations. I think everyone here on this call could probably speak to the fact that that's not an easy task, just pulling all of that together. And maybe we could use that as a platform of its own to get into a chat about what it has taken to build your individual platforms and your specific focus areas. So if as the focus initially is fashion museums, but you want to expand to various digital sectors, and you listed all like gaming, AR, VR at the end, cinema as well. How have you each gone about selecting the areas or the categories that you work within or want to start platforming? Understanding, of course, that there are so many and it's difficult to serve every single cultural sector at once. Although the deep desire probably is there to do so. So yeah, anyone can go.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, but I think that's a very amazing question, and I think thinking more broadly about what platforms we create for our communities. For me, it's more like KQ Hub Africa. We wanted initially to be a physical space, but because of lack of support, funds, and all that, we thought maybe a hub could operate as well as a virtual space. So for us, we wanted to create this platform that was physical, which didn't actually mature. So we had to sort of like operate as a studio space, but as well as a virtual space to create this a platform where we are welcome to a number of creatives within visual, performing, and all that. But I think some of the things to think about when you're putting together a platform like ours is thinking first about the community that you want to tap into. So initially we wanted to tap into the visual art space, but then because of how broad and collaborative arts can be, you find yourself tapping into performing arts, you find yourself tapping into the digital arts. And now that we had sort of like COVID-19 that quickly got us getting ourselves so much interested in operating on virtual space. But I think platforms like ours are always thinking about community, are always thinking about diversity and inclusion, always thinking about networking and coming up with programs that are in sync with what the creative communities are thinking about, you know. So I think in terms of when we think about platform, we're thinking about the programs that we set for these networks and communities that we want to tap into and that we want to support. So programming is key to what our platform is, and it's not a platform if it doesn't have a program. The other thing we always constantly think about is fostering spaces of knowledge sharing and idea exchanges. So for us, we think it's not a platform. Initially, when we're starting up, we thought we need to create events and workshops where young people can acquire new skills, ideas, so that they can take them to bolster their creative projects and something like that. But also thinking more in terms of the opportunities for the delivery of those projects. Tapping into organizations like the French Embassy, the French Institute, and all these other cultural organizations across the continent, but also globally, seeking to support and work with creatives on the continent and in East Africa and Uganda particularly. So thinking in those terms, that's how we actually managed to build our platform to what it is right now. Thank you.
For us, building BlueAvo has been quite a journey, and it's an ongoing journey. We're definitely not where we are intending to go, but we've only launched the MVP that's out there. And to be honest with you, we had to address it from a very business perspective. I had an experience in the creative industry, but I had no idea how to write a single line of code. So I very quickly had to find a co-founder, which I did, who's an incredible co-founder who, headed up the tech team. And so very quickly on in the company, we had to look at business models that would ensure that the company would scale. One of the things that happened in the BlueAvo journey very quickly is investors coming on board or asking a lot of questions. So what started off as, we want to do all of this and that and that and that, we had to quickly just scale it down to a single product offering that we could ensure could be replicated in all the different markets that we wanted to reach. Initially in the first year, South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Egypt, whilst having the intention and the strategy to look into how do we expand in global markets, because the key purpose of BlueAvo is that commercial opportunity for creators. So whilst other things might be an add-on, like the community or other projects that are coming up, which I can't share at this point, but we had to make sure, how do we make sure that creators make money? So we had to think from that perspective of driving a business that was very robust and could grow quickly and attract clients very quickly so that the creators on the ground can be paid what they're worth on the continent.
I think, yeah, pretty similar, I would say, in terms of that focus. And I think it's important as well when we were, so for example, when we were building our platform, we actually started much wider. So we had to distill it down. We started off being like, okay, we're going to cover, you know, various different creative industries. But what was important for us was actually to focus. So we actually started off not in the tech space, although that was our background. We started off doing pop-up events. And I feel like it always helps to start doing something that you can do at a smaller scale, like even if it's the smallest scale possible, and then you can test and iterate. And that's literally what we've been doing. And we've been doing that for the past like 5 years, kind of testing and iterating. And we launched our marketplace last year. But before that, we were doing pop-up events and we were testing, how does this work? You know, introducing creatives to collectors, and we found that we had a much stronger focus in the kind of art market, and you know, with art and illustration, and also within both on the kind of buyer's perspective, but also from a commercial perspective. So we could take our backgrounds in, you know, coming from understanding art licensing, working with brands previously, and also having now an understanding of the art market and how undiverse and you know, kind of how that market was working. And we started off just doing pop-up events because it was easy for us to kind of work out, but it got to a point where, again, we couldn't scale. And that's where we decided to launch our online art marketplace. So we took that experience. And again, even the first iteration of our marketplace was completely different to what it looks now. But we took our understanding of understanding tech and also to build no code. I think no code calls are probably quite useful for a lot of people who are even thinking about being a platform, or even yourselves. You know, you may have started off with your MVP in no code, but yeah, that really helped us. And then we were able to kind of scale from there. So for us, it's always been about looking at what is the most basic version of what we want to do and how can we launch that quickly and test it and get it into the market. And then what's working, what isn't working, and then how do we scale that? You know, if things aren't working, how do we change that and kind of switch things out? So for us, it's always been, and I think we're always in that process. We're always in a very like iterative process of, yeah, developing and growing. So that's how we began.
Cool. Yeah. I think with Newcomer, we had very similar issues to everyone, having lots of ideas, starting really broad, and then getting to a stage where, okay, to move forward, we need to calm down and kind of distill everything. So the way we did ours was to take it in stages. So to develop the social community aspect before we move into recruitment. So that's kind of where we are with Newcomer. So Newcomer, like I mentioned before, is a social media platform. So the main thing within that is to try and redefine how creatives define ourselves and how other people who need to hire us perceive us. So with one translation of that, it's with giving African creatives the opportunity to present their portfolios in a way that properly communicates who they are as a person, in addition to how that informs the work that they create. Because a lot of them struggle with, like CVs, for instance, not every CV necessarily matches the way creatives prefer to present the history of their experiences. So with Newcomer, it's all about providing digital and physical spaces for them to kind of rejig the way that they present themselves. And then the next stage is more about building the features to accommodate said talent with our job boards and our other recruitment tools. And then I would say the third prong of that is overall development of the creatives. There's one thing in having the job board, but there's a second thing in having the talent that can actually satisfy the advertised jobs. So all of that will come with training, workshops, events like these that will create spaces, safe spaces for creatives of all levels, especially creatives who are transitioning from other industries. As we all know, the classic story of starting in, I don't know, medicine or law, and then later down the lines, wanting to take ownership of your career, which most usually ends up being creative. So it's all about Newcomer just being that cushion for them to be equipped with what they need to go into the job world. So that's kind of where we are: social to recruitment, then to mentorship. So that's kind of the stages that we're moving in.
So for us was also the start of the point of this project was to work with two departments, audiovisual and cultural. And we chose two industries, cultural industries. One, so the museum, with who we had a start of connection and a view about what's happened in South Africa. And also because French Institute is starting a new mission about Friends in South Africa cooperation around fashion, we also decided to have a focus about these two industries. But as the video mentioned, we want for sure developed the cultural industries in South Africa. Have a really map of all what's happened, and we want to develop in different sectors.
Yes, it will be our challenge for next year to extend the focus on the other cultural and creative industries, and we decided to extend with animation, video games, virtual reality, architecture, but also design and art gallery, markets and art fair. But it will depend of the partnership that we are going to build for next year and the funding, of course. But it is very important to have an overview for us of all these cultural and creative industries, and it will develop links for professional, but not also for the general audience and public. So it's important for us to think about the future, and it will depend on the partner.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's quite interesting here is that, we've got IFAS here as a cultural organization, more on the diplomatic mission side of things, and amongst, more independently founded and run cultural organizations. And I'm curious around the, every one of you has mentioned an interesting and a very important element of building, from the ground up, sort of understanding one's landscape. Ian, you mentioned, partnerships and network building and programming at the core of it all, and keeping sort of the community being served at the core of it all. And then Indira, you also spoke about owning one's worth as a creator, and that being a central focus of BlueAvo, and how all these things thread together. Then Swakara, into the smallest viable version that you could execute on that vision is such a key insight. So I'm curious to know how, number one, before I get to the point, please also do ask questions of each other. This conversation shouldn't only flow through me. And because I'm pretty sure you might want to ask each other, about one another's projects. But I'm just trying to connect the dots here into in this time that we're in, the last couple of months, if not years, the creator economy has suddenly become this catch-all variable. There's an immense hype and boom around it. Almost every tech startup is gunning to serve the creator economy in some way. The digital platforms themselves, our social media platforms, have started to invest a lot in creator funding, expanding their work as platforms. And I think in that space, I'm curious to know how you yourselves are existing on these platforms, and maybe bridging gaps between creators who are possibly producing content, consuming content, but not really connecting the dots to how they might monetize their content on various platforms. And then there's the meta level of each of you as platforms that probably need to market yourselves on social platforms, and thereby you yourselves are content creators. How are you thinking about those things, and how are you yourselves tapping into the creator economy boom right now?
For us, we're a very small team, simply because we just recently launched. So one of the members in our team was just like, why don't we just get students? And that was honestly our first point of reaching out to creators who are making use of such platforms. And so we've recently started partnering with universities that really churn out young creators, such as AFTA. And so that is how we're both addressing the internal opportunity of BlueAvo to get ourselves, out there, but most importantly, addressing the opportunity to empower the creators to make use of such platforms by actually recruiting them young as they come fresh from varsity. Yeah, I feel like I might have missed the question there a little. I'll come back.
I'm sorry, it was a lengthy question, but really just trying to think of that really tapping into the boom in creator economy opportunities now. But and for the creators that you are serving, but yourselves as well as platforms that need to be sustainable and need to grow, and scale was a word that each of you brought up. So.
Yeah, I think we've all seen the boom, and I think this might be something that we've all felt, but I think because we've all got a creative network as well, for us personally anyway, we actually tap into our network. So we work a lot on whether it's something that, like, for example, if we are installing artwork in a headquarters, we also then tap into our network and say, okay, who's in our network who wants to come and like shoot this, or create a video from it, or for example, something that we created for ourselves as a marketing tool, because obviously we used to, once we launched the marketplace, we still were doing kind of like pop-up events every now and then as marketing. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, we were then like, okay, this is no longer viable as a marketing tool. And we were kind of always doing stuff on social media, but we'd always said we wanted to, so we're always looking at how we can push the boundaries within tech and kind of creativity in tech. And so we were having this discussion. We were like, actually, yeah, let's create something virtual. And that was how we started with our virtual galleries, which then kind of grew from a marketing tool for us personally, and then became, a revenue stream for us. Obviously we've worked on, which you guys will see, the festival build. And so for us, it was, actually, I guess we never really thought about it before, but we kind of crossed the line between creators and like producers of content, as well as, kind of serving this creative community and serving a creative audience. So I think for us, it's just, we always call it like a blessing in disguise that we have this amazing network of talent. And even within that, we know that there's some creatives, because we try to work with creatives and really understand them as individuals who are also kind of utilizing this kind of influencer kind of marketing as well, and looking at places like that. But I think for us, it's also learning for us, but we're also trying to integrate that into part of our platform, that when creators join both the marketplace and the network, there's also an element of learning. So, we do workshops, we give opportunities as well, and in similar circumstances that you guys do, we have a platform, they have a platform where they can chat to each other, where they can interact, and we've seen like work grow out of that as well, which has been really exciting. So for us, it's this kind of nice like organic network where we serve them, but also there's talent, an immense amount of talent that we can also kind of pull from and work with as well. So that we always say go to our network first, and then if we can't find it within the network, we also do partner with like other platforms, like I'm sure Dylan's still on this call, but we've partnered with creative nestlings. If we are saying, look, we can't solve this here, and I think that's what's exciting about especially being in this kind of like online space, we actually work with each other. So we will, we'll collaborate, we will speak to each other, we'll say, look, we can't do this, but do you guys have someone who can do this? Take that opportunity on. And I think that's what's exciting about everyone kind of starting these kind of grassroots or starting things themselves, is that we haven't got this, especially I think more so for me coming from like understanding the art market, it doesn't quite work like that in kind of like, I would say, the traditional sense. Like there's almost like competition over collaboration, whereas we're the other way around, we're like collaborate over competition every time. And I think that's what's pushing everything forward, and I think that's what's really exciting, really.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. And on that point about community and collaboration, I think it's a really key thing for us as well. And when you look at like the creative and the art space, there's that, but then there's also the business element of it. And I would say when we first started building Newcomer, because it was basically off a pain point that my co-founder and I, Nigel and I, had in high school, it was an interesting transition going from, okay, this is what we feel should happen, as opposed to this is what makes sense from a business perspective. And within that, there's even stuff with the existing social media sites, like you guys mentioned earlier, we also have to exist in these spaces. So it's having to kind of wade through all the algorithms and having to post every other day to make sure that you still have a certain level of visibility on these platforms and stuff. And what that's created is, it's almost made creativity robotic, in a sense where we create to satisfy certain quotas, as opposed to creating because this is what is emerging out of our minds in the moment. And in Newcomer, what we're trying to do is to create a slow-paced environment where you post when you're ready, not that you post because you feel that's what should be trending today, or that's what you think your clients might be looking for. Fair enough, they might be looking for a certain kind of creative, but then we really want to focus on the process of creating as opposed to the final product as well. So I would say that's one other aspect that we've been thinking about, even things like follow accounts. Do we have follow accounts on Newcomer? Because you know how on Instagram, for instance, you get certain features unlocked if you've reached 10,000 followers. Is that a model that we adopt, or we make everything accessible to communities of all sizes? Those are all things that we're considering, because I think at a social element, there's so many behaviors that we've adopted as a result of the existing platforms that we have, Twitter, Instagram, etc. And it's all about kind of taking what works and taking what doesn't work as well, and injecting that into what we believe might be a more accommodating model for our target audience, because all of these platforms are absolutely amazing for creatives, but they're not created with Africans at the forefront of what they're building. So I think that's what's amazing about what we're all doing, because every single thing or every single action that we take is done with ourselves in mind. And yeah, context always matters. So I think that's the benefit of all of us being here right now.
No, I like what Natalie says, especially because there's a lot of saturation. You know, when you go to the digital space, there's a lot of content, and you're basically competing with various creatives from across the globe, you know. So I think for me, as a person that creates platforms, I'm always conscious of the fact that, okay, there are digital platforms that are better than mine, that could give exposure, visibility to a wider audience within the creatives in our community. But I'm constantly thinking about how do we create local platforms as content, rather as platform people on the continent, you know. So thinking in that direction, like for instance, I like what Creative Nestlings is doing, you know, like opening up a space for young people on the continent to express themselves and open up different spaces where they're able to share, network and all that. And I think that's very important. But going back to Danika's question, of course, as a platform, we also operate very much on these different platforms that are available, like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And for us, one of the challenges that we face is that we have really amazing content. We have a network of people, but we would love to reach more people. But like Natalie has said, the algorithm cannot allow you, because the people that are going to have access to this content may not necessarily be the kinds of people that you're trying to target with the content. So I think the conversation about platforming on the digital space should be more about what platforms do we create that are really in sync with the creative local communities that we want to tap into in Africa, particularly for this conversation. I mean, we could have a global visibility as well, but in terms of if I want to find the best creatives within the continent, where do I go? What platforms can I go? I think we need something like that, you know, and I think all of us should be thinking in that direction. The other thing I want to talk about is I like platforms. I like ideas where you have international agency and development organizations thinking in the direction of creating platforms. But then the question that I also have for Lucy and Sophie is, do we have local creatives involved in the process of building these platforms? Who is at the center? Who decides who gets the opportunity to be on these platforms? That's also very important, because one of the challenges that I face as a cultural producer is a community of young creatives constantly saying, you know what, it's very competitive. You know, we could participate on having our content on Instagram, but we're not paid for that. We're just creating content for Instagram, you know, so they're benefiting more than we do. So we have to also think, and also there's that thing of the NFT. I don't know whether you guys have heard about it. I think that's a great platform, although the legalities of it haven't really formulated very well. But I like the fact that if someone likes your work, you're benefiting from it in one way or the other. So platforms like the NFT need to be popularized even more. That if you're sharing my work, I need to benefit from it directly, which is unlike these different platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube and all this. Instead, it's YouTube that is benefiting because for them, they get content. Netflix benefits because they get content. So as platform organizers or as platform creators here, I'd like us to think more directly in terms of how do our platforms benefit our communities financially and bettering their standards, not only just visibility, because yes, we've had that conversation for a very long time. I'm thinking more directly in terms of bettering their standards, their living standards, because I believe that creators are not just creating, but they also want to survive. They're also thinking about being better people in the communities that we serve, So for all of us, I'd like us to challenge ourselves to think that way. And maybe if someone has a solution to that, could share. But Sophie and Lucy, I'd like to hear about what you're thinking in terms of your platform. Are you engaging local content creators? Are you engaging local consultants to help build that platform that you've created? And how are you going to engage not only South African organizations within your platform, but also across the continent? Thank you.
As we are a public institution, it's sure that it's not exactly the same involvement. As you know, the cultural and creative industry is a priority for the French diplomacy action. And that's why for the first year, we got fundings from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of France. And that's why we decided to create this platform. But of course, we had some partners, some South African partners. As Lucy told you, this platform was built, the beginning of this platform was built with an institution like SAMA, South African Museum Association, like with the Department of Sport, Art and Culture also, and the South African Cultural Observatory. But for us, I understand your question, because for us, the challenge for the next year is to involve more the South African partner, not only for the question of finance, but also for the contents and for the promotion of all these sectors, also because we want to extend this platform to other cultural and creative industry. But for us, we would like to create like a steering committee with different actors and key actors in different sectors. Also welcome on board to share this the content. And of course, there is a business purpose also, because we hope that it will develop links and cooperation between French industries and South African, but also in the continent. As you know, in France, we have organized a big Africa season 2020. I don't know if you heard about this important season. So I think all the continent is a priority in the French diplomacy. So that's why this tool, for this year, it is our tool, but we want to share it, and we want to, at the end, we will disappear maybe from this platform, because we gave the impulsion. But the idea for us is that this platform will be part of the South African creative and cultural industries, and not only the French Institute. But for the impulsion, and because we got fundings, we decided to do that, but in consultation with local institutions, local authorities, that's the concept. I hope I am clear, but don't hesitate if you have a few questions. And Lucy, if you want to add something.
No, just to also answer about young questions, the methodology, like we took close to 1 year to create and design the platform. And we always involved the institution, organization, business. We can target in the two industries. And we had 3 months of interviews with these different contacts. And the idea was like, okay, we have an idea to create a tool, a platform, but what do you need? What's the function you want to see? What's the function you want to see in developing? And we took all those ideas as a brainstorm, and we tried to answer as all the requests as possible. And also about the design, about the identity of the platform as a name. So we chose a Zulu name, but it's something we really want to talk with the institutions and the partners. As a French institute, we can't say, okay, let's try and let's keep a Zulu name. It was something decided with the partners. So that's something we want really also to highlight on the website, on the platform. And we also take part of Fak'ugesi for that, just to launch the platform and to also find some new partners and new ideas to see how can be Ikoko can be developed. You know,
we really want to share this platform with all of you, of course, and to develop together new contents and new improvements.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Sophie, Lucy, and Ian for such a rich description of the challenges sort of facing the creative community on the continent. I think what is insightful to know, and I'm mindful of the fact that I think Natalie, Swakara, you have 10 minutes left, or just under that now. So in that time, I just want to touch on something like weaving this together. There's a thread emerging around, I think, what happens with platforms that are servicing creators. Do you feel a pressure to be sort of all things to creators? Because there's a thread of, I mean, the creative process it's a long, complicated one. It's very different for different creators. It's different depending on the industry you're in or the local context you're in. And I see platforms like IFASs, like BlueAvo, providing a connection. So there's the opportunity and a collaborative networking element to that creative process. But Natalie, you spoke about Newcomer more in terms of what sounded to me like enriching the quality of creativity and giving creators the space to really think and nurture their creativity before even being pressured to produce output and to become visible. And then, of course, in Better Shared, correct me if I'm wrong here, all across the board, but sound like the giving artists a marketplace to sell their work, becoming financially viable, becoming more visible. But therein is almost at the, now we're at the production, distribution, marketing phase of my creative journey. And Ian, for the various programs, you spoke a lot to education and programmatic like development. So really they're like learning, connecting. Each of these are kind of distinct nodes on a creative process. And can you speak to the importance of like staying in your lane and nurturing that lane? And then where do you connect and how much pressure do you take on to sort of own the creator economy in your spheres?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting that you picked like key moments that we're all literally taking key moments, and that's what we are focusing on. And I think it goes back to that really understanding of what is your strong suit and what is your USP as a business, and also what are you doing for, because we're all talking about businesses that serve two sides. We're talking about businesses that have the creator and they're creating something, or we're nurturing them, and then we're talking about another side. So whether it is for us it's commercial, obviously we're looking at how do we take this artwork and it then goes to kind of customers, or we also sell kind of B2B as well, and so we're looking at how we serve clients in that. So for us, we had to look at what is our strong suit, like what is it that, and it wasn't something that we just sat down and went, okay, we're really good at this. We went back and spoke to our community and we're like, what is it that you guys want? What is it that, we used to do kind of a mixture of things. We still have different opportunities that people can do. And we realized, how do we look at what we're strongest at and what is the real need, and how does this marry up in terms of our business? And so for us, it was, creating a place where artists could sell, so they can actually, become financially viable, sustain themselves. And also because we had, as I said, an understanding and a connection to, and we always call ourselves the actual platform. We're like, eventually we always say that we'll disappear into like the ether, and, we have this digital platform that creates this service. We were looking at on this side, there's a need and there's a want here, and we can service this. But it's interesting that we also hit the point where, where artists especially are working like commissions, there's a point where we really step in, where it's this connection between, kind of commercial client world and artists communicating to that world. So we step in to either showcase what they do, or to literally physically step in and be like, we always say we manage the boring bits, like we do the logistics, we do all the bits where artists were actually having different problems because, for example, an artist advertising themselves on like Instagram, we're not solving that problem because we're like, they can do that. That's fine. They're able to do that. But we were like, okay, an artist wanting to sell to someone who, you know, they live in Mozambique and they want to sell to someone in LA. How does that happen? How does that service look at? So we literally went through the user journey. We were like, where are the problems? Where are the main pain points? And for us, we were like, okay, we can see it. It's the literally like they can produce it, but getting that shipped over there and being able to, from the client side, being able to, you know, and from the buyer side, being able to click and make that purchase really easy and safely in their sense was a problem. So that's where that was kind of having a problem there. And so that's how we started to build our products. We literally sat down and went, let's go through the whole journey. Where can we help in this journey? And what is it that we know? And how can we use our skills to make this now happen? And yeah, I think what's great is that we can actually all work together, that it may be that, you know, there's an artist who is working with yourselves at Newcomer, there's an artist who's working with, you know, yourselves at different points, who then comes to us at a different point. But we're also aware that we also work with kind of creators at a certain stage in their career as well. Like they're early in their career, but they've also, and we always say that, like, they have to at least have one collection ready to go, because at the end of the day, that's what we do. That's our business. We help them, you know, start to generate income and look at how we can grow them in terms of their career and commercially and yeah, financially. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, that we can all connect in that way, and we're actually all looking at different, very, very different but very important parts of that journey.
Yeah. Natalie, please, before you have to run.
Yes, I was just going to add two quick things. So we are really focusing on the differences or the nuances in terms of creative disciplines and background. So actually, I'll start with the background first. So in terms of the local African experience and the experience across the diaspora, those are two different worlds. And I think in a lot of situations, we tend to clump them all into one, but it just doesn't happen that way. And with what we're trying to do with Newcomer is literally taking apart what these nuances are and kind of catering to the different audiences based on what their cultural contexts are like. So in terms of our tech team, most of them are like locally in Ghana, although Nigel and myself are currently living in London. And I always say Nigel and myself have kind of the opposite experiences. Whereas I was born here, grew up in Ghana, then moved to London. Whereas he was born in Ghana, lived most of his life in London, then moved back to Ghana, moved back to London. So in terms of having that experience of being a Ghanaian who has lived in Ghana, then moving out, is very different to someone who has lived here all their lives. And in terms of the access that someone would have here living in London their entire lives is very different to someone who might have grown up in Ghana. And it's about taking, okay, what are the kind of issues that someone locally on the continent might have, solve those issues in a way that is different to someone who might have issues here. A very quick example of that is, of course, there's various forms of discrimination, but it shows itself differently here in London racially than it would back home in Ghana or wherever else on the continent. And those are the kind of things that all of our organizations have to like consider. And then the other side of that is nuances in terms of creative disciplines. So when people think of creatives, they typically think photographers, videographers, graphic designers, etc. But there are other disciplines within the field that are quite key to the roles, like gaffers. If you think of the roles that ironically have artists in their names but aren't thought of first, like tattoo artists. When you think of tattoo artists, you don't think of creativity first. You just think of them in their own pockets. And like makeup artists, for instance, you just think of it as a skill and not as a creative flair or discipline. So we also want to open up the spaces to these people as well, to show that you're also valid in these spaces. You also have something to bring to the table. Literally at every shoot, if there's no makeup artist, most of the time it's not going to happen. So yeah, those are two things that I would say all of us need to be thinking about more. Nuances in terms of geographical and cultural context, and then the nuances in terms of the creative disciplines themselves and what they might require in each of our organizations. So yeah, that is it from me.
Wow. Thanks so much, Natalie. If you do need to jump, yeah, please don't feel bound to tethered here. But yeah, thank you so much. If you can stay on longer, absolutely incredible. Perhaps if everyone else could remain on for about another like 10 to 15 minutes while we just, you know, round up, that would be wonderful.
I actually have to go, but thank you so much for having me. This has been an amazing discussion. It was really, really nice to meet you all. I definitely want to connect with you all after this, so I will do like a mini stalk and reach out after. But yeah.
Thank you for your
have a wonderful afternoon.
Really great to learn from you, and congratulations on where you're at.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, bye. And likewise, I'm so sorry I have to jump, but again, lovely to speak to all of you, meet all of you. And yeah, I will definitely be like, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, like following you guys. And yeah, an amazing chance to connect. And again, thanks for inviting me to speak on this panel. It's been great. And it's amazing to hear about all of your businesses. So congrats on launching and getting stuff out there. I know the journey is hard, so yeah, congrats to everyone. But yeah, I'll definitely connect soon. And thanks again for having me.
Likewise, thank you so much. And yeah, and congrats to you too.
Thank you. Take care.
Ian, Indira, Sophie, Lucy, do you can you do you want to speak to that, like, you know, nurturing your part of the creative process and you know?
Yeah, definitely. For the first year of BlueAvo, I mean, our purpose is to basically showcase African talent. What we wanted to do in the first year was to connect creators to opportunities. So we worked offline for quite a while to understand the business processes that they were experiencing on the ground. So things that we wouldn't have necessarily thought about came up. Like, for example, in a production process, how a client might come back with the 50th edit, but who's paying for that? You know, and so from a client's perspective, they're getting what they want, and from a creator's perspective, it's abuse. So we had to sit down and really come to understand the creative process on the ground of the African continent, and partner up with some legal teams to specifically protect the creative on the continent. And that is our purpose. It took a huge amount of time, but where we're at with BlueAvo is that the creative is so protected in terms of our terms and conditions and the payment structures and the payment cycles, that it is a platform that, you know, the brand is the one that's getting, you know, a lot out of it if they get to partner with the creative. But at the end of the day, the creative is protected and is paid for the work that they have fulfilled. And so it took a lot of learning. It took a lot of very much painful conversations where you're trying to find the middle ground from a client's expectation perspective. And some of the things that Natalie was sharing about different forms of discrimination, we saw it on the ground. You know, a lot of people don't think about this, but some races get paid more because they are just that particular race. But in BlueAvo, that's not acceptable. You know, because if the creative work is worth this amount, then we will fight for that. And so we had to go through a huge painstaking task of kind of like disrupting the way that things were working in the market, in the way that from the client's perspective, they have the money, they can dictate how everything works. Yes, very much so. On the platform, the client gets to say, this is my budget. But for the first time, the creative can say, you know what, fine, I'll do it for this budget, but I'll do it on these terms and conditions. And the BlueAvo legal team is able to support them and ensures that, you know, IP is not transferred if the stipulations of the creative are not met. So it was a difficult process. It was a difficult place to find, you know, I won't mention the client, but it took me 3 months to convince the client to put up a brief on BlueAvo, simply because the creative was so protected. But they did, and they loved it, and now they're coming back. So it's been a journey.
I think just before we move away from you, I mean, what you're speaking to now is such an important element of professionalizing creative work to the degree where it's taken as seriously as any other form of work, right? And I think for so long, the creative sectors have been quite underserved, quite undervalued, and there seems to be, you know, still quite a big disconnect about how much work actually goes into producing a creative piece of work. So how much work have you had to do on the side of client education, as well as creator education, in terms of being able to, I hate to use the term professionalize because it seems like it wasn't professional before, but if you get where I'm going with you know, having to upskill clients on how to brief, and then also how to respect creators' budgets or work, and their own their own forms of work.
To be honest with you, it's an ongoing experience, specifically for my portfolio. That is what I do every single day. I jump in between meetings with clients, like educating them, doing demos, how to set up briefs, expectations. So a client might say, I only have a budget of 5,000 Rand, but I want a movie. I then have to be like, okay, you can get a movie, but it might be a cell phone movie. And I'm not sure if it's going to come with audio. So things like that, and just like having to consistently educate. And I think it's just one of those marketing things that we've had to understand for this first year of the business, of like, this is actually the creative journey. And it's been very interesting, where clients have been quite surprised of how much work is required from the creator's perspective. For them, it's just, I just want a video, you figure it out. But from the creative, there's so much work in between. And our purpose as BlueAvo is to kind of understand what the creative is saying and present it to the client. So it's an ongoing process, as well as encouraging the creative not to be discouraged. That's also been quite a difficult process, where I've oftentimes had to turn to my co-founder and just be like, please help me. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's something that has to be done, because we can't build from there. Yeah. The way that creators have been, especially on the continent, have been exploited, it's not good enough for us anymore. And so as BlueAvo, we're like, this is what we're currently doing this year. We're educating clients, we're educating creators on the world of the client and trying to find a middle ground. And so we currently have an open policy. We're very much free for feedback, like any feedback that anyone has on the platform. We've even created a Slack channel for creators. More than welcome to complain. We take everything seriously, because we're intentional about building a solution for the creative. And so, yes, it's going to take time to get to, the Fiverr level for Africa, but we're like, we can do it together. We can do it together as a community. If the creators are honest, if the clients are honest, and we as BlueAvo are honest, then we can build something that can last for the continent.
Okay. Thanks, Indira. I'm going to come back to that just now, but Ian, Lucy, and Sophie, could you maybe, any thoughts on what Indira has spoken about, and also your specific focus areas?
I think when we talk about platforms, it's quite a bit, because for me, being in the creative industry for a very long time, I think platform has become a word that is very controversial. That's why I'm very particular about being open and having the conversations when we're talking about creative platforms that are uncomfortable. And those conversations range from what do we offer for the creatives that participate within these spaces and within these platforms. And if we don't give or accord much respect to that conversation, then the platform word is going to become nothing, because you're going to tell a creative, there's this platform would like you to be part of, and because they don't understand where you're coming from, or maybe something, or maybe the context and all that, they get it out of context. But I think when we talk about platforms, we're basically talking about safe spaces where we think we are engaging diverse creatives from different avenues of life and all that. And then I think it's opportunity, like we're creating opportunity spaces for them to be able to be compensated for their work, compensated for their efforts and their time. I think it's also about visibility. I think it's also about the networks. I think it's also about the knowledge sharing and the skills and all that stuff. So the key aspects, though, as we think about creative platforms, should be what is in it for the people that we create these platforms for. Are we thinking about their sustainability? Are we thinking about the next stage within their creative ventures and creative journeys? Once we start thinking about these things, then we create platforms that are not only enriching us who create the platforms, but also the people that we intend them for. you know. That's why some of the questions that I asked might be very controversial, but it's more to just create context, because the word itself, platform, creative platform, I've had a problem, honestly, platforming creatives, and you're like, hey, we're going to give you a platform. Then like, I mean, it's become very controversial. That word platform has become very controversial. And I thought, because this is a conversation around that, we needed to redefine that as a creative community, and redefine what that means in the African context, and also engage our audiences in terms of understanding that when we talk about platform, this is what we define a platform as. We want you to come and learn something. We want you to come and make your work visible. We just want you to make your work visible. We're actually going to pay for it. We're not just going to pay for it, but we're actually going to push you so that you can be able to access a very great pool of networks of supporters and all that. So as we're building our platforms, put these issues into consideration. And I know Sophie and Lucy are thinking in this direction now that we're having this conversation. Now that they have an amazing digital platform that is coming up, they need to think very much so, if they were not aware, but these are some of the questions that are going to come up. Okay, you've put this amazing digital platform. We're going to put our content up there. What is in it for us? So you need to think much about in terms of, okay, we're going to have you guys participate in this platform, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to put together a creative board of industry stakeholders that they want to look up to. We're going to maybe mentor them or something so that they can learn a skill, or maybe we're actually commissioning for the work that is going to feature on this platform, you know, or maybe we're going to open up, you know. So these, it's just, I don't know whether Danica, you're getting my point, but the point is really, how do we redefine the word creative platform? Because it's been bastardized. When you tell a creative, you know what, we're opening, we want you to come and work with us, but we're creating a platform for you, it becomes very...
Speaking, I think, let's pin it there, because I just want to hear what Lucy and Sophie have to say. And then let's return to this question, just I think as a closer, to defining what it really means to lay claim to being a platform, you know. But Sophie, Lucy.
Yeah, so just about what Indira and Jan said, for sure, we don't have a commercial approach of the platform. I mean, about the contents. It's more a tool for the creative players. And we are just at the start of the project. Like, for the moment, it's only a library network. And if we want to start something more developing about, we are thinking about to do a map to also have a view about what's happened in South Africa, but not just about business or organization, but why not also to include events or the big dates happens for the different industries. And for the moment, what we are also testing is we include some articles and research sources, also in partnership with the institutions who shared with us some reports or many reports or data about what is happening in South Africa in museum of fashion. So that's also something we want to develop with the actors in South Africa. It's what do you need and how we can centralize information, and the idea is more to be a service, you know, than to put people together and to let them also develop the function of the platform. But we are just at the beginning, so it's something we want also to brainstorm with different people, you know.
And we want to improve this platform with key players of this industry. And also this tool, we hope that this tool will help to support the creative industries in South Africa and in Africa. With these contacts, we hope that it will be powerful to bring some market and or some chance of collaboration between Europe, France, but also Europe, because we hope that next year we could involve some European cultural institution also in this platform. So with this tool, it could be a kind of support also for all the sector which has suffered of the crisis, and but it has suffered also in France, you know. So maybe we will bring together our force to rebuild this industry and to recreate this link, this cooperation, this collaboration, you know. But that's our main idea. As we are a public institution, we don't. It's not for marketing purpose, you know. It's only a contact. We create more contacts and links and collaboration.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, Danica, and I think I like the fact of when you talk about culture exchanges with Europe and then South Africa, so connecting that's already something great. So when you talk about platform, then you start giving them what are the things that they're going to benefit from that. And that is how it's going to make sense for anyone that actually wants to participate in that platform. So you talked about culture exchange, which I like. You talked about research and engagement, which I also like. I mean, so it's not just about presenting. And I think because this conversation is about creating platforms, we need to move away from just presenting our platforms to telling the people what we offer to our members or our communities. I think that's what I wanted to make the case for. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ian. And Lucy, Sophie, Indira. I think we're going to sort of draw it to a close now. You know, thank you so much for being here for such an in-depth chat. I think what seems to have really sort of come out in the last couple of minutes is that we really do need a broader overview of what the entire platform ecosystem does look like, because like to Ian's point, platforms are many things to different people. And, you know, we're also in a space where, you know, the next chat we have like this, hopefully we can have the digital platforms in the room, your YouTubes, your TikToks, your Instagrams, your Facebooks, your Googles even, because they're major players affecting the careers of creatives nowadays. And when you think of what it means to think of yourself as a creative enterprise, so, you know, and starting to adopt a more entrepreneurial mindset as a creator, then we've got to be thinking about what the business opportunities are across various platforms. Thinking of, you know, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch as spaces where you can now make a living. You know, look at Kabi Lame or Lame, I'm going to say his name wrong, Kabi Lame, from Senegal, you know, who shot up to become the second most followed TikTok star during the pandemic. And his worth is now at $2 million because he's monetized himself. He turned himself into like a one-man business. He's now opened up a shop. And why should that model only be applicable to a few? Right now, like platform economies around the world, and I think to Ian's point, there's a lot of us in this ecosystem doing a lot to create visibility, but the ugly bits, the boring bits that Swakara spoke to earlier, of legitimizing work, the legal work, Indira, the work of educating clients and creators, connecting the dots there, getting the industry to become more entrepreneurial, getting creatives to become more entrepreneurial. That's perhaps the next evolution and the next challenge of every platform that's trying to build for creators. But I hope that we can probably follow up this chat soon. It's definitely not one for just a one-off chat. From my side, thank you so much. It was a privilege to be able to meet all of you and learn about your different platforms. A privilege to get to see the French Institute's platform for the first time. And hopefully you'll be connecting with all the different platforms here to help you build the rest of it. Any closing comments from your side? But that's it for me. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I've learned so much, and I'm really excited to connect with all of you. And Ian, you've got me thinking. So thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be there, and we are very proud to launch our platform today with you. So thank you, and I hope we will build links together also. And I'm delighted for this moment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to all, and again, thanks to Fak'ugesi for this opportunity. It was incredible panel. So thanks.
Thank you, Danica. Thank you, Indira. Thank you, Sophie and Lucy. Hopefully we can work together in the future. Hopefully we can keep moving the conversation going on. And thank you very much for this opportunity, Fak'ugesi Festival. Looking forward for more. Cheers.